Hello, dear friends. This is Carly Whorton, and welcome back to Owning Authenticity. In our quest to simplify natal charts, we come to the Ascendant, aka the rising sign. The Ascendant, sometimes called the rising sign, is the third component of the big three. So the big three is kind of the starting point, the starter kit of what to begin looking at in your natal chart when you're just getting started. The other two pieces of the big three are the sun and the moon. So those three signs are basically your biggest three influences if you had to pick three, right? We always want to look at the whole chart, but those three are a nice place to start if you're new to natal charts. For the ascendant, you do need to know your birth time because the ascendant or your rising sign, as the day goes on, the rising sign changes about every 2 hours because of what I'm going to show you on the next slide. Let me answer the FAQ real quick, which is basically look in the description box for a link to one of my episodes of little appetizer episodes of astro lessons. They're like little baby astrology lessons, very short little bite-sized pieces of information, and one of them is what if I don't know my birth time. So if you are one that has that question, I would recommend you take a few minutes and go listen to that episode where I do take several minutes to unpack what you can do about it if you don't know, and more in depth, what you're missing if you don't have that information. But for the sake of this, let's assume you do have your birth time, which is typically listed on your birth certificate. So the ascendant shows up on our chart always as this line that runs across the horizon center point of our chart, horizontal. It always says AC, out to the left at that 90-degree angle point. So that is your ascendant, and it's part of an axis, meaning that line goes all the way across. So the ascendant on the left and the descendant on the right, that is the same for every single person. The ascendant and descendant are always located in those positions because the ascendant begins the first house and the descendant begins the seventh house. We haven't covered houses yet. If you're new to that too, there is a video specific to houses. For now though, the ascendant, you can think about that horizontal line across the center of your natal chart as the literal horizon at the time of your birth. So which sign was on the eastern horizon, meaning it was rising, which sign was on the eastern horizon at the moment you made your entry. And that energy is your rising sign. The energy that was rising at the time of your birth becomes your personal rising sign energy. And on the opposite side of that, on the left side, which side was on, or which sign was on the western horizon, meaning it's setting, and that's descending. So whatever sign was descending at the time of your birth, that becomes your descendant. So these points are very important in the natal chart. And so I'm so glad you're here to unpack a little bit this ascendant piece, also known as our rising sign. So the ascendant, if you had to boil it down into just a couple words, it is I am. It's this beginning of our individuality. And with that, it is how we unconsciously present ourselves to the world. So this energy is, you could kind of say, if you're familiar with auras, you could kind of say this energy exists as like the outside of your aura. So this is the energy that when you meet someone new, they meet this rising sign energy first before they ever get to know anything about you. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I've been told things that I don't feel resonate with who I really am, but that people think I'm unapproachable or intimidating or whatever. And on the inside, I'm just a giant softie. So to be called intimidating just sounds funny to me. But that is my Taurus rising. On the outside, I look solid and bull-like, apparently. So Yeah, it can sometimes be new information to learn about our rising sign and what the outside of our aura looks like to other people. And so that piece can be really illuminating. And for me personally, and it doesn't happen the same for everybody for sure, but this particular piece of me having a Taurus rising, or finding out whatever my rising sign was, it did not compute for, like, I'm going to say 6 to 8 months of I just didn't get it. I could not connect to it. I couldn't like feel it in myself anywhere. Like, what the hell is going on here? I don't get this. And that's where it clicked that this is the energy that is like on the outside of your aura that you are sending out into the world. So the fact that I couldn't find it made a little bit of sense that it's really not visible to us on a certain degree. That's why it's unconscious. So again, it is when people meet you in new situations. So that is a big piece of people seeing your ascendant. Is the newness, because as we get to know each other, as we spend more time together, as we build rapport, we have shared experiences and history, that leads to deeper bonds and deeper connections where you're interacting in your moon energy or your sun energy or any number of other energies within yourself. But in that very first instant, one rising sign meets another rising sign. So that's helpful to keep in mind. And I think that's kind of getting at the saying of like, don't judge a book by its cover. Maybe do if you really need to, but at the same time, keep in mind that there is so much more behind your first impression of someone. And keeping that in mind lets us stick around long enough to see what might be behind a first impression. So rising signs definitely factor into that new social situation, new first impression moment. I'm going to skip that one and come back to it. It said that it was previously the primary sign used to understand someone because it is so visible on the outside, but it's really not the core of who we are. That's said to be kind of the sun. The sun is our individual essence, as a soul that we came to shine into the world. It's the unique solar nature that we came to shine into the world for the benefit of ourselves and others. So the sun is really the core of what we are. And the sun could set, or you could say that the sun is driving the car. It's choosing where it wants to go. It's choosing what's important to it and when and where to be. And then the car itself is the rising sign. So coming back to that bottom left one, the vehicle you utilize to deliver your gifts to the world. Your gifts are your sun sign. Your unique solar essence is the gift that you came to give to the world, and the vehicle that you utilize. So it's utilitarian. It's for the sake of getting your gifts from point A to point B. So connecting with it and learning how to use that energy is so valuable and so important. They say if you live in harmony with your rising sign, that you find this path where life is easy, you are well adjusted, you're in harmony, you're in balance, you're walking on a path that was meant for you because you're living from that space of meeting life in that rising sign energy. And so that's really helpful, I think. And if you're listening to this still, probably you think so too. In general, the ascendant, because it begins the first house, it also symbolically points to our entry into life, the karmic start of our entry, and just new beginnings in general, how we start things, how we approach new territory, uncharted territory. So it can tell us a lot about that side or that facet of our unique essence. And coming back to the points to our entry into life, if you have really powerful planets touching your ascendant or like touching as in sitting right next to, or if they're opposite your ascendant, meaning there's a red line between the planet and your ascendant, um, or squaring your ascendant, if you have any of those kind of harsh aspects touching your ascendant, that's where you would think that there might have been a painful entry into your world, and that new beginnings in general are somewhat painful for you. It transformative probably, but painful nonetheless. And so those are the kinds of things that, like, seeing that in your natal chart can be somewhat helpful, not in a sense that it's going to change anything, but that you can understand what's at play, the energy that's at play. And I always bring any of that kind of back. Like anytime we get sucked into maybe feeling like our natal chart is bad, or we wish that it wasn't what it was or what it is, and we can't really change what it is. If we ever feel like our our unique energy is a curse, then that's where we know that we are barking up that tree of not being aligned with who we are. We are not using the full potential of who we are. We're missing the point in some way. You know, if we feel like our energy is working against us, that means that we are actually working against our energy. It's us, it's our conscious self, it's within our realm of control to give in to whatever our energy is, because it is what it is. We chose it for a reason. I personally subscribe to the theory that we timed our birth, we chose the place, we chose our parents, we chose the exact moment that we made our entry into this life, because we wanted the energetic imprint, the unique cosmic signature that we got. We knew that that energy, that unique combination of energy, would result in the perfect being to walk the path that our soul came here to walk. So if we feel like our energy is a curse, or that it's working against us, all that means is that we are paddling upstream, and it is within our control to let go of those oars and choose to surrender to the flow of energy that is us. You know, like we can choose to float downstream, or we can paddle upstream and spend all this energy to get basically nowhere. Um, because the flow of energy that is within us, that we carry through our lives, like that imprint, that cosmic signature, it is what it is. You know, and the sooner and the deeper that we can give in to who we truly are, how we are uniquely wired, the better our life will be, the more our energy feels like this beautiful blessing that we are honored to be who we are, and to carry the unique cosmic signature that we chose well. You know, like we can make that transformation of feeling like a victim of our energy to feeling like, I am so grateful that I chose how I chose. I'm very happy with the energy combination that I concocted for myself, and it's working well. And that's evidence that, you know, our energy feels like a blessing. That's evidence that we are using it the way it was intended to be used. You know, so everything is always working out for us, right? Everything is coming together in the perfect time, in the perfect place. And we can choose to believe that if we allow ourselves to believe that. And the positivity and well-being of our lives explodes. It goes crazy when we're willing to accept that there is positivity to be had. So it's all these tiny shifts in perception. And the ascendant is maybe a big shift. It was for me, for sure, because it is recognizing that this energy exists on the outside of who you are. And by nature, you cannot necessarily witness that energy, because you know yourself on a deep level. You cannot meet yourself anew. It just doesn't work like that. So it's a very interesting journey to let the natal chart shift our perception of ourselves one piece at a time. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Until next time, dear friends, you take good care of yourselves. And so will I.